Welcome to the Make Your Mark podcast. Hey everyone, I'm Mark Moyer, author of Win Again, speaker, career coach, and business advisor. And I help athletes, executives, and entrepreneurs reach their fullest potential. What you're going to be hearing in every single episode are conversations with athletes and other sports-related influencers. And we'll be offering you the insight that you need to succeed in life, including advice that will let you jump past your competition, whether it be for a great new job or taking your business to a much, much higher level. Make sure to connect with me on social media at Mark Moyer Coach and go to my website, markmoyer.com, to get access to the tips and strategies that my coaching clients get directly. If you're looking for ways to make your mark, send me an email to mark@markmoyer.com and I'll get you going right away. Thanks for joining me today. It's going to be an awesome episode. Now, are you ready to make your mark? Let's do this. Welcome to Mark Podcast. My name is Mark Moyer and I'm broadcasting to you from Decibel Studios here in Midtown Manhattan. Super excited to have you on board wherever you're listening. If it's here in New York, awesome. Anywhere else in the United States, Northern Canada, Mexico, Antarctica, wherever you are, thanks for being here. Just finished doing an amazing episode with Joe Sena. And Joe is the CEO, founder, and as I say, the big kahuna of Spartan. And he is such not just a badass, but he'll tell you why he's a badass. And so many great stories. You're going to love this episode. But before you check it out, go to markmoyer.com for access to all the other episodes I've done. Lots of great content on how to take your business and your career, especially if you're an athlete, to a whole new level. But enough of my blabbing. Listen, you got to check this out. Joe Sena is amazing. You're going to love this episode. Happy listening. Welcome to Mark Podcast. My name is Mark Moyer, and we're broadcasting live from Decibel Studios here in the big city. Super thrilled to have Joe Sena on board. Joe is CEO, founder, and big kahuna, right?
Yeah, I've never been in a studio. This is my first. I feel like a big kahuna. I didn't feel like a big kahuna when I was outside in the street and almost got run over by a taxi. But when I walked in here in the studio and great, there's no sound. It's nice.
Well, you know what? That's what you've got to do for the next Spartan race is you've got to have it where the obstacles are just getting through the city.
I like that.
Make it so you have to dash across Fifth Avenue while the traffic's coming down. That's got to be one of the obstacles.
I like that.
Subway, jump the turnstile and see if you get tackled by
the biggest obstacle for me, this room is really quiet, would be just sitting in silence. That would be, and I gotta hand it to our friend over here who I assume owns the studio, right?
Oh, yeah.
You just sit in silence all day. That's pretty impressive.
I don't think he does. He what you don't know is he blasts really loud music in this thing.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he's not even with us right now.
Got it.
But anyway, but thanks for being on board here. Joe has accomplished so many different things throughout the course of his life. So we're going to cover, let's see, 48,212 of them. Can we do that?
Yeah.
All right, on your marks. Here we go. So the reason I reached out to you originally was that I had read your piece in one of the books that we both had little pieces in. We collaborated in a book called Standing O, which Scott McGregor had pulled together really snippets of people who were influenced by other people. And I'll talk about what you wrote about in a minute, but what was interesting was you said, well, you've had so many people that have influenced you throughout the course of your life. When that was put to me, I was in a hotel room in Madrid where I had 3 hours left to do this thing and I completely forgot about it. And I was like, oh crap, who the hell has influenced me? And I drew a blank. I was like, well, I've had my own company for a long time, so no one really influenced. I was another company for 20 years, but those people didn't. I was thinking, oh, what am I going to do? And then I was like, ding, of course, mom. Right? Yeah. And so in my case, I wrote about my mom. And I literally just threw out did my homework, one shot, and then I read it over. I was like, wow, people that know me are going to say, that's really sappy for you, Mark. That's not really Mark. But I was like, that's how I felt about my mom, right? So then
mom.
I read yours, and so that was great.
Moms are the best, aren't they? My mom's gone, but she was really the influence she's the Spartan. She's the reason this whole thing exists.
I love your commentary in there. So you wrote about your mom and how she really shaped you, especially, once your parents were divorced when you were a teenager and you moved to Ithaca. And I love the story about you being basically banished to the yard for a week. but also talking about eating twig sandwiches, and you can't get more. I mean, that sounds pretty good.
My mom. We grew up in Queens and Howard Beach, which was organized crime capital of the world, and for whatever reason, she walked into a health food store in the early '70s, and completely transformed our house, which was, meat eating, sausage and peppers, cannolis, cheesecakes, pizza. The conversation every minute of every day was about food or cement or jail, and because lots of people went to jail, and Frank is going away. He's doing 5 years, and or have you tried this new Louis makes the best pizza? And she became vegan instantly. She started meditating, started teaching yoga, and feeding us brunch sandwiches, which I would throw away and go to Anthony Catapano's house and grab an eggplant parm hero. But only later to come full circle and realize, everything she said was right.
Well, that's what it is when you're a kid, you kind of like roll your eyes because you know everything, and they, what do parents know? And then now, it's funny now as a parent, when I want to tell my kids something, part of me is tries to be the adult that says, wait, don't do that because, and then the other part of me is like, that's ridiculous. Like bundle up before you go out, and they're, Dad, it's 58 degrees, whatever, Mom, whatever. And, I'm like, all right, screw it, don't worry. But it's interesting that, when I was younger, I used to think my dad, for example, like I would turn into my dad, but I haven't. I'm still me 30 years later.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they have tremendous, it's interesting for me because we have 4 children now. And so I find my mind going back to me being the kid and how my parents, right? And then how am I treating them? And as you were just talking, I was just thinking about dinner last night at the table because I think my wife, first of all, every family wants to sit around a table and have that time together at dinner. And for us, it's just mass mayhem all the time. And I probably created that. I was just thinking, like, I definitely created insanity, so there's never a moment where we're sitting down and we're eating, picking stuff out of the refrigerator. Just right. And she attempted to make like a vegan eggplant parmesan last night with like vegan cheese and all this stuff. But the funny thing was, because my kids don't really know that life, they didn't see what they didn't grow up with that. They ate it like everybody attacked the tray of eggplant, and so. I was like, wow, it must be in our genes.
That's right. That's right. The DNA.
Yeah.
It's. I just want to make sure that the eggplant was not harmed in any sort of way.
It was safely picked, free range, organic.
No caged eggplant.
No, it was not caged eggplant.
That's great. So, going back, I mean, it's interesting because you mentioned you were back when you were growing up. Your neighbor was a crime boss and so forth. But what was it? Did you know that, or was it common knowledge, or what was the?
I didn't. It depends what age I was. Right, when I was very young, I used to go visit relatives in jail, and my grandfather and my mom. Everybody said, "Oh, we're going to the army." They didn't want to tell me what it was. Right.
Oh,
and go talk to the Japs over there. Like literally, they had created this whole narrative that when we went to visit folks, we were going to the army. And then later, as you get a little older, you see a couple of movies. Maybe I saw The Godfather. Who knows? You start to get it, and then the kids start talking at school about the bosses. And it turned out our neighbor had the nicest house, had all the nicest cars, was a big guy. And at some point before I was 11 or 12, I knew he was the boss. 4th of July, I kid you not, a tractor trailer would show up for fireworks.
Yeah.
It was it was the leftovers of whatever they didn't sell.
Oh, interesting.
And we would pour. It was the entire block would get involved, but the tractor trailer would show up, and we would pour gasoline on the street itself, light it. Okay, think about how insane this is. And then not even unpack, because there wasn't enough time to just throw it into the fire. And stuff was shooting in every direction.
People
a
taking
car
cover.
blew up one year.
Oh my God.
Roofs would catch on fire. I mean, it was complete insanity. It was,
Now, is he the this neighbor holding court, sort of like sitting back and
he would hold
smoking a
court.
cigar, whatever.
He had a little lawn chair.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was a big deal. And he only had daughters. He had 3 daughters, and I filled a role, I think. Became friends with him, not really understanding it, and then he got me started in business.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about that.
Yeah, my dad, my parents were going through tough times. They got divorced, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come over on Saturday and clean the swimming pool? I'll pay you $35." And so I came over. Didn't really know what I was doing. He started teaching me lessons. I mentioned one to you when I showed up in the lobby downstairs, which was if you say you're going to be at the house at 8 a.m., you show up at 7:45.
Yeah.
If you say you're going to clean the pool, you also clean the rest of the yard. Also, even though I'm not paying you for that, straighten up the lawn furniture, straighten up the shed, make yourself invaluable. So when I get home, I'm like, this kid's unbelievable. And never ask for money. Never ask. You'll get paid if you're supposed to. And counterintuitive for a lot of kids in business today, people in business today. Why wouldn't you? I don't understand. If you did the work, why wouldn't you ask for money? It's just what I was taught. And later in life, by the way, jumping ahead 10 years, another boss I was supposed to do work for. You could look him up if you're listening. Gas Pipe, they called him, in Mel Basin, which is a little neighborhood in Brooklyn. I was going there to talk to him about putting a pool in. I was waiting. I was told to wait outside. Waited outside for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3. I was afraid to leave because I knew, what I was dealing with. It came out later. The reason he never came outside, he was killing the architect inside the house at that time. It came out later in the news because the architect had asked for money.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Felt that he wasn't paid on time.
Wow.
So
you learned, yeah.
Don't ask for money.
Good point well taken. Now, did he ask you to not necessarily clean the pool, but maybe clean up?
No, I never. You know what? I had great relationships with all the husbands and wives. I had 700 customers at one point. It went all the way from the business went from Brooklyn all the way out to the Hamptons. And I would say there was at least 50-60% those kinds of folks that were involved in that. And then the rest were business owners. They owned pizza places, cement companies.
You mentioned cement earlier.
Yeah, lots of cement.
Talk to me about cement.
You know what? I just love masons. I just love folks that do masonry work. They're just hardcore. They're Spartan through and through. Something about lifting stones all day. I get so excited when I see stone, especially old stone buildings, because I just know I did so much stonework growing up and in this business I was in that I just appreciate it.
Was that part of that like pool landscaping sort of thing with waterfalls or whatever?
Waterfalls and pavers around and bricks and then a lot of my friends my age were sons of masons. Yeah. So then they were doing brickwork and cement work and I love that. I love welding, steel. I don't know. Yeah. Very on brand for Spartan.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Now the pool business. What made you decide? All right, you know what? I've kind of done every pool I can.
I was really fortunate. My mom moved to Ithaca, New York, to get my sister and I away from that environment, which was obviously not a healthy environment. And I kicked and screamed because I didn't want to leave the neighborhood. And once I learned who these people were, I wanted to be like them, right? I wanted to be around them.
Right.
Respect, money, nobody's going to fuck with you.
Yeah.
And but we were moving to Ithaca. And so in Ithaca, I didn't really know much about colleges. Again, another term used for prison was college. Oh, he's going to college. So I didn't really know much about colleges, but in Ithaca, there's Ithaca University and there's Cornell University. Yeah. And I ended up fighting my way into Cornell. While I was there, I met an Italian guy who I clicked with right away, who had graduated years earlier, was retired, and he took an interest in me. He saw maybe a little bit of Italian sparkle, and definitely saw a hustle in me and begged me from before I graduated for 4 years post-graduation, every month, on the day, when are you going to sell this business? When are you going to go to Wall Street? You got to cross the river. You got to go to Wall Street. And I wasn't really listening to them. Young people don't always listen to older folks, and I didn't know much about Wall Street, and I had this great business, and I had these customers that kill people for a living. And so who was better than me? And then one day he called me, and he gave me a stock tip. And I was making money at the time. The business had really grown. And
how old were you this time, at this point?
I'm going to say 24, 23 or 24.
Okay.
And so I purchased the stock, first time I'd done anything like that, and I made a lot of money in 24 hours.
Oh yeah.
And it was just a fluke. And I said, "Wow,
it's that easy.
I got to get rid of this business and go to Wall Street."
Yeah.
And so then I went on my pursuit to try to secure a job, which is not easy, because again, I didn't really know people there. I had already been out of college for 3 or 4 years. It was late, and I was a pool guy at the end of the day, right? I was doing masonry work. I wasn't a financier, but I made the pivot. I took 20 steps backwards. I sold the business, got a job not far from where we're sitting right now, and built a career on Wall Street. Yeah.
So, what was what area did you specialize in Wall Street? What was your expertise?
I didn't really know I didn't know anything when I got there, and so I was very fortunate in that I got to work in a unofficial training role where I learned how to sit on the trading desk, how to go down to the New York Stock Exchange, and take orders down there, how to write research reports, how to do some basic investment banking. I worked on the stock loan desk. Really, they had no room for me anywhere, so I just kind of bounced around. I literally just bounced around, but I learned the whole business. And then eventually I decided, it was a very bold move, I had no idea what I was doing, to start my own firm. And so I did. I had an idea, and it didn't work at first, but then it worked.
Why do you think it didn't work at first?
It didn't work at first because I at some point the student thinks they're smarter than the teacher, and I just thought I knew too much, and so I made some fatal mistakes, but then recovered, and built a thriving business for the following decade.
So what got this going? What got Spartan started?
Well, in the mid-'90s, well, let's go way back. My mom introduces my sister and I to a race in Queens, New York through one of her gurus that still exists today. It's called the Transcendence Run. It's a 3,100-mile run around a 1-mile loop.
3,100 mile?
Around a 1-mile loop.
Okay.
So for 50 or 60 days, people just run around this loop.
Okay.
And it's really meant to show how strong the mind is. And so... So I had that in the back of my head. Fast forward, moving to Ithaca, I'm building a business, I sell it, I go to Wall Street, and my mother's teachings come back into my mind. And I decide to start doing yoga, and I start thinking about that race, and then I meet somebody who's doing adventure racing, and so before you know it, everything I fought my mother on, everything that I wasn't a believer in, I started doing. And because I'm just a glutton for punishment, I started to put on races back in 2000. My first race was called Expedition BVI, the British Virgin Islands. It's 350 miles long. I don't know why, but it was hard to get people to sign up for that. And
well, I think the British Virgin Islands part is probably pretty good.
That was exciting.
That was the incentive part, and then the 350 miles, maybe less.
Yeah, but we got about 100 participants. I lost about $500,000, and I lost a guy. He vanished. And I found out 8 days later that we had lost somebody. And when I started to investigate, we got the Coast Guard involved, and folks started recounting what they had seen, where they had seen him last 8 days earlier. And apparently he was in a little dinghy. He had cut himself and was going to get stitches, had to go to another island, and drifted away. The dinghy didn't start, apparently, and he drifted away. And the Coast Guard, now in those 8 days where we didn't know this person was missing, he was on our staff, okay?
Remind me not to be on your staff.
Exactly. The worst storms the BVI had seen in 10 years had rolled in.
Wow.
So likelihood that this guy was dead.
Yeah.
And Coast Guard finds him 150 miles away.
Wow.
He had drifted to a deserted island, Little Tobago, and he was eating crabs and drinking from bottles of water that had also drifted to that island.
No kidding.
And they brought him back, and I thought for sure we were going to be in trouble, but all he wanted was dinner. So I said, buy this guy dinner. But it was written up in Sports Illustrated as the real survivor, because at that time that movie Survivor was out.
Yeah.
And and then from there, I wish I could say it was all uphill. It was a disaster. I wish I could say it was all downhill.
Yeah.
It was much harder after that to eventually get to a place where Spartan was birthed. And it's been 20 years. This is 20 years in the making. It's a 20-year overnight success.
Sounds like a long time.
It's a long time.
Well, it's funny, but it probably also seems like yesterday sometimes too, right? I mean, it's interesting how when I think back to, the year 2000 was 20 years, we were all freaking out about when the clock would turn from 99 to 2, that whole thing, Y2K and all that stuff, and nothing happened. And that was 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
9/11 was 19 years ago. I mean, that's
I know.
That's a long time.
It's fast. We're going to be gone before you know it. We better
Where
enjoy
are you
the
going?
podcast.
Where the hell are you going? I'm not going anywhere. I tell people all the time I'm going to live to 138.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Go to 140.
I figured, I always figure, people say, well, you going through a midlife crisis? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not there yet. Still got some ways to go.
That's right.
But anyway, so what do you think right now? I mean, today Spartan's cranking along. You're in I think 11,000 countries and 400 million participants and all that stuff. Like, great numbers. Lots of people love doing it. What do you think are are there challenges, or is it just a challenge to the growth, or challenge? I mean, what do you face going forward?
Well, I mean, every business has its challenges. It's a knife fight every day. If business were a sport, it would be, rugby.
Yeah.
Right? It's tough.
Yeah.
And our goal is just to keep growing, because if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah.
So I don't want unnatural growth. I want it to be healthy. We're looking at all acquisitions and trail, and anything we would bolt on to the Spartan brand has to be rugged, has to be hard. So we just bought an event down in Costa Rica called La Ruta, and it's 28 years old, and it's the original hardcore mountain bike race. It goes coast to coast in Costa Rica, goes through 20 microclimates. Lance Armstrong said, hands down, hardest bike race he ever did in his life. Goes through the jungle. And so I was like, we got to have that event. I mean, and so I'm looking for events like that around the world.
I know you've spoken to him before, Robert Owens. And I think you called him the fittest 66-year-old in the world or something. Yeah. And, he completed the World Marathon Challenge, which I thought was pretty damn amazing. The idea of completing 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents. Yeah. That's crazy. You should snap that one up too. Or is it in your empire or not yet?
Not yet. Yeah. Not yet.
That to me, when your first marathon is Antarctica, I mean, and the way it was described was that you basically get off the airplane, you run 26 miles in some giant loops on Antarctica. You basically run right back onto the airplane. It takes off and goes to I think the next stop was Cape Town, South Africa. And he said that the temperature difference, it was 90 degrees in Cape Town and it was minus whatever. And he said everybody's feet swelled way up because it just, the conditions are crazy.
I love it.
Yeah, I knew you'd love that. You're thinking maybe I should make a phone call or two. But how do you today get the person, let's say like me, who really, my version of a triathlon is couch, clicker, beer.
Oh, that's a terrible triathlon.
Well, I'm aware of that. Yeah. But how do you convince me to get my butt out to
I don't know if you're convincible. I don't know if you're convincible. I mean, from a business perspective, let's answer that question.
Yeah.
You want to spend your dollars, if you're us, targeting and talking to the people most likely to take it on.
Yeah.
Right? More like the guy that did the 7 marathons, 7 continents, 7 days. If you're really happy with the couch, the clicker, and what else? The couch,
the beer,
and the beer. You're a tough sell, but the majority of the first world is you, and so hopefully I get to one of your friends, and then one of your friends talk about it,
right?
And then maybe you get a little jealous or interested, and that gets you there, and then in most cases, once you do it. And this is not self-serving when I say this is for the audience. Once someone does it, it's like, oh my God. Like for me, I know what it feels like to be feeling great, right? Being at peak performance. And so if you know that feeling, you always want to get back there.
Right.
But if you don't know that feeling, and a lot of people don't know that, right? Because they just never... Again, my mother introduced me to a 3,100-mile run, and I was 11 years old. You know, like a lot of people have never seen that.
Right.
Our children, we have 4 children. My oldest boy ran Boston Marathon at 8. His brother ran New York Marathon at 7.
Wow.
Right? Now, it sounds crazy, but there are many villages, many places in the world that kids walk 13 miles to school.
Yeah, right.
It's no big deal.
Yeah.
But they know what it feels like to feel great, to push themselves. And so my hope is again, people get out there, they feel it, and they're like, oh my God, this is literally life-changing. And then they inspire 2 people. And then those 2 people inspire 2 people. I mean, that's the way it works.
Well, you know, I think the biggest potentially roadblock to getting God, I hate it that you looped me in with those people. But anyway, but is when you describe, or not you, but the marketing is all about, this is the toughest race you'll ever be in, this is the toughest thing, blah, blah, blah. Well, so to the fitness people that are involved with that all the time, they love that challenge, right? But maybe for the people on the couch, they're thinking, well, if it's that tough, forget it, man, you know? So I think, but I agree, once you do it, you're hooked.
It's got to be tough. Everybody's instinct, including mine, was let's lower the barrier.
Yeah.
Let's make it easier. Let's make it seemingly less hard in the imagery and the copy. And the problem with that is that when somebody comes across the finish line, it's got to mean something. If it doesn't mean something, you're not doing it.
Right. I don't know if you want to say this or not, but is there does everybody complete it? Do half the people complete the race? Is it like a...
It's probably 75% completion rate. But it's more about like what is your time versus my phone's been ringing off the hook while I'm here. Sorry. What is your time versus your previous time versus your friends? It's interesting to see how you stack up versus the world.
Right.
Right.
Now, who gets involved with designing the course? I mean, do you ever touch that stuff anymore? Or
in the early days, I did, but my team is a lot smarter.
Yeah.
And a lot better than me, a lot more creative.
Yeah.
They do it.
And how often do you yourself get involved with the races anymore? Or do you, or?
I'm pretty involved. I mean, I'm at races. I'm not racing against the elites,
right.
But I'll carry a kettlebell or a sandbag around the course or something. That's my thing. I like to suffer.
I was just thinking that's a great line of T-shirts.
I like to suffer. Yeah, that's me.
Now, in terms of the preparation for somebody, let's say I wanted to do it.
Yep.
I mean, not let's say it. I do want to do it. I'm
City
happy.
Field.
I'll be there.
Why don't you, to your listeners and your viewers, why don't we say anybody that wants to join you, they have 1 week to commit from the time this is published, and I'll just give you a bunch of free entries. So there's no excuses. I'm taking away all the excuses. April, City Field.
Was that an excuse to the free part, or the part where just getting me off the couch part? But now, but in all sincerity, what what do I need to do, in your opinion, to train? I mean, do I need to beforehand? Do I need to be in like great shape?
If you walked, I tell everybody, if you walked 1 mile per day, outside of any walking you do, like a focused, purposeful 1 mile per day, 30 burpees, and 30 of the best pull-ups you could muster up. A lot of people can't do pull-ups. It's okay.
Yeah.
1 mile, 30 and 30. It's all you'd need to do. If you were hustling, that would take you like 13 minutes. Okay?
Right.
If you can't give yourself 13, forget about me. If you can't give yourself 13 minutes a day, stick with the clicker, the beer, and the couch.
Okay. And, well, maybe I have time to do both, honestly. So, I mean, I can do that, but I'm breaking your heart. And you're like, no, you're not listening to me. But I think that, especially in a city environment, it can be challenging to exercise. I mean, not that that's an excuse, but it is an excuse. And but obviously, you also, when you're walking around, you see loads of people on the way to the gym.
All right, if you live in the city, why don't you just take the stairs instead of elevators? If you did that, you'd be in the best shape of your life. Just commit to stairs from now on.
Damn it. I used to live on the 18th floor, but now I'm on 4, so that's I'll just do it a few times. I'll go back and get 4. That's all right. I'll do it a few times anyway. Yeah. That's all right. No, that's great. One of the things I like to do is I'm a team sport guy, so I do play ice hockey, and that can be somewhat. That's a pretty good workout. But
it's a great workout.
Yeah. Did you ever play at all?
I didn't play not well. I didn't play hockey well.
Well, I'm still horrible, but it's a lot of fun. It's it's funny when you play a sport like that, you really appreciate the talent and the skill set that these guys and men and women have. It's I was at the Rangers game last night, and it was a good game for them. But whenever I hear the fans boo, I want to say, you have no idea how hard this is to do. Right. And it's like that with a lot of the sports that when we see football, fans booing. I'm like, no, you can't. I mean, I get it. We're upset that our team is not doing well. Yeah. But
I'm with you. You know what's crazy is Randy Moss, football player, came out and did a Spartan race. I happened to be under the barbed wire with him, and he had a grimace on his face. And I said, Randy, what's up? And he said, Joe, it's the hardest fucking thing I ever did in my life. I said, Randy, you're an NFL player. It's the hardest fucking thing I ever did in my life. So that's interesting. That Spartan, is that hard? Wouldn't think that.
Actually, you bring up a great point. How often do you find, I don't want to say celebrities, but maybe celebrities or even athletes do these things, or do they feel that they shouldn't, or they're scared to?
No, they come out. Serena Williams, Alicia Keys, Lance Armstrong, Randy Williams, they come out.
Randy who? Oh, Moss.
Randy Moss, yeah.
I think you said Randy Williams for a second. That'd be interesting to see. Now, what about, is it something where you ever feel like it'd be fun to issue a challenge to, like, whatever, the Patriots or the Giants or whatever it is?
I would love it. Let's do it.
In fact, you should have well, you know what? In the old days, they used to have, Wide World of Sports and stuff. And then there used to be, like, another show where they competed guys against. What was that?
I forget. The Battle of the... whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Battle of the Stars or something.
Yeah, Battle of the Stars, yeah.
That could be really interesting, where you say, you know what, you guys are a bunch of pansies, but
exactly.
If you can complete my race, you're going toe-to-toe. There's another guy that I know, he's runs a couple places here in the city called Swerve, and it's biking, but it's like Peloton and these other ones, but it's not, it's team biking, all software-based, whatever it is. So instead of you're not going in racing against everybody in there, it's you and your 10 buddies going against the other 10. So if you kind of are holding up the pace, it's okay because there's another guy that's right.
I love it. Yeah.
But it's a company thing too, where it can be Morgan Stanley versus Goldman Sachs, whatever it is. These amped up guys, right? So
we get a lot of that.
Like the company thing.
Yeah. Gyms competing. We just launched a new product called DECA.
Tell me about it. What is it?
So DECA is more urban. It's in the cities, indoor facility. 10 stations, so you're going to be you're doing 500 meters, and then you're doing rowing, and then you're doing 500 meters, and then you're doing burpees, and then you're doing 500 meters, and we're super excited about it. It's basically a fitness test for everybody, so that All of a sudden, when you're going to the gym, it's purposeful. Hard to go to the gym with no goal,
Right.
and you're just, I'm going to lose weight. That's like a dream. That's not a goal etched in stone. And so all of a sudden now we come into town, you've got a way to measure yourself.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because, see, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a team sport guy, but I'm a competitive guy. And to me, you're right, going to the gym and saying, all right, yeah, I'm either going to drop 5 pounds or I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that if I do this and I do this. But I'm like, But if there's a way to make it competitive.
You got to make it competitive. You got to gamify it.
So 500 meters of what?
500-meter run. 500-meter run around a track.
Right.
And then you've got a station. Then another 500-meter run. Then you've got a station, etc.
And it's all, is it gross time or net time, whatever, is it time?
Total time.
Yeah.
Total time, yeah. And then we also break down each station so that you could say, I'm really good at this, I'm not so good at that.
When are we launching? What's going on? When is
Launching March, Denver's first location, 12 locations this year. We're going to do a big dinner January 31st in Denver. So if you're listening or watching and you're out in that area, send me an email, joe@spartan.com, and we'll get you involved in DECA.
Are twigs being served?
Twigs. We're doing twigs for dinner.
And no, eggplant parm. Come on, you got to do that.
Yeah,
But free-range eggplant.
I got to do free-range eggplant.
That's great. So aside from all this stuff here, I mean, you've experienced a lot in your life. You've lived a bunch of places and so on. But what sport that you've played? Have you played a team sport that you love, or not really?
Not really.
Yeah.
No, I skied. I raced BMX bikes. Was not a team sport guy.
Yeah.
You
just don't like other people?
No, it wasn't. I mean, when I was very young, I played football and baseball.
Yeah.
I went through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't pushed in that direction. The environment was it was a crazy place.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm still picturing the guy on the lawn chair watching the truck of fireworks. That's a great image. Now, you think they'll let us do that in front here?
No,
Put
they
some
definitely
gasoline
won't.
on the
No.
Lexington Ave here. Now, in terms of the places that you've lived, I mean, you mentioned, we just chatted a little bit earlier, and you said that you've lived, just recently came back from, as you said, around the world tour sort of a thing. But what prompted you to spend such a length of time in each of these places? Well, tell everybody where you were in.
Yeah, I mean, it was an opportunity for the family to go to Asia, and we wanted to build our business in Asia, and so everybody agreed. My wife went along with it, and we went to Singapore, and we lived in Singapore for a year, and then we went to Tokyo. We lived in Tokyo for a year. Then we went to Vancouver. We lived in Vancouver for a year, and I have to say, when you and your partner here asked me, what are your favorite places to live, I would say either Vermont. If we're going to live on a farm, it'd be Vermont. If we're going to live in a city, it'd be Tokyo. If I wanted to live in a hot, warm place with great rules and safe, a safe environment, Singapore. And if I wanted cold and quasi-city, country life, mountains, Vancouver. So I basically lived everywhere I was, best places in the world. Yeah,
checked them all off. Out of the places that you've traveled but not necessarily lived, what are some of your favorites?
Well, Sparta, Greece. We bought a couple of little stone houses in Sparta, just because we have to.
We have to, right? Yeah.
My wife has to go to the Greek consulate in New York, and they're like, "Why is your husband buying it?" Well, you don't understand. And the funny thing is, in this little area in Sparta, there's very few people there, and they all moved in the '60s to Astoria, Queens, which is not far from where I grew up.
Yeah. And
so I stand there when I go there, and I'm like, I don't get it. I'm here. I came from Queens, and you all left. So it is a little bizarre, but I love Sparta. I would say those. I would say I named my favorite places. I love northern Quebec. It's called Charlevoix.
That's up there, and that's out there.
Yeah.
There's not much else. I mean,
yeah.
Were you doing fishing, hunting, whatever?
Adventure racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loved it up there.
When you say adventure racing, I picture dune buggies. Is it running?
Mostly running.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way out in the snow and on the frozen lakes and stuff. It was beautiful up there. before we bought the farm in Vermont, I thought about Charlevoix, northern Quebec, but it was just too far.
Well, you got to work on the French too. You have the French down, or
I don't have the French down. No.
I mean, it's whenever I see a lot of the foot. I mean, what people often don't realize is how huge Canada is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think we all kind of focus on the sort of the bottom 10% of it or 20% of it. And There's just this Yukon territories, Northwest territories. You know,
It's big.
Yeah, it's massive. So that is the next frontier for Spartan races, I think.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Might be a lot of resources up there.
We're in Canada, but not up there. Yeah.
And wait a minute, you've got to buy the only Iditarod yet? You got to grab that.
I did it by foot.
Did you? What?
I did it by foot. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Were the dogs pulling you on your feet?
The dogs were expensive, so I just went by foot. We actually broke the trail for the dogs the week before. Was the deal? It was.
What's that like? Tell me.
It was 30 below. It was cold. It was cold. It was miserable. I don't have good memories of it. It's not a place I would put on the list to go back. Very swampy, but because it was so cold, it was basically snow-covered swamp, Alaska.
Yeah.
I say that lovingly for anybody listening from Alaska. But
don't worry, they're all fishermen. It's okay.
When the event started, just to tell you how crazy this place is, Red Bull had bought a Russian tank, and they were gonna just set it up at the start to show off their tank.
Yeah.
And it sunk.
I was gonna say.
And it sunk.
Oh my God.
And it disappeared. Bloop, 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 bloop,
Oh,
bloop.
no way.
Gone.
Oh my God.
Because you got all this weight of the snow on top of the frozen swamp, but once the ice breaks,
forget it.
You go. And so there were a couple of people almost died in that event because if you didn't pick the right spot to be trekking,
Well, we're down one Russian tank, I guess.
We're down one
Did they try to pull it out, or was it just gone?
I was gone. Gone had gone off. I was looking to get the hell out of there.
That's great. So what's left to conquer, kind of a thing? I mean,
I want to do a full featured film. I have an idea. Every time I'm on a long run or training or just have a moment to myself, I think about this incredible story of Sparta that I've concocted in my mind, and it's gonna be like an Iron Man type saga, but it's focused on Sparta.
Are we going to be set back in the BC days or whatever?
We'll probably go back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Joe going to be in a little Greek outfit or something?
No. I'm not in it, but we got to get my buddy Gerard Butler will be in it.
Oh, there you
go.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. All right. So is that still rattling around the brain?
I'm writing the book right now.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
So hopefully this year the book gets done, and then hopefully it's as good as I think it is.
We always think that our things are good, right? So tell me about books anyway. You've written a few now. What's been the differentiator between them? When the first one came out and that sort of thing.
Spartan Up was really just my story growing up, and this idea on how I built resiliency and grit. Second book was Spartan Fit. Basically, the publisher said a lot of people want to get fit. Tell us how to get fit, and so it's definitely not biohacking. It's the antithesis.
Yeah.
It's the Flintstone methodology for getting strong and getting fit. And then the Spartan Way, I had accumulated these 10 principles throughout my life, whether it's from organized crime folks or academics or yogis. And that really helped me guide through my life. But they're ancient principles. There's nothing I invented, but strung together in a certain order that you need them. That when you take on something hard, life or marriage or building a business or raising children, you're going to be presented with obstacles along the way. And if you've mastered these principles in this order, because this is the way things come at you, you're gonna be more likely to be successful and achieve your goals in life. And just putting final touches on a parenting book, a Spartan parenting book. Fourth book.
Spartan parenting.
Spartan parenting. Yeah.
All right.
So rather than wrapping the kids in bubble wrap like
Yeah.
most of us do, you wrap them in barbed wire.
Yeah.
This is
like
this
that.
is where you give kids obstacles, and you make it harder for them, and they should take the stairs, and walk to school, and do the hard things.
You know, it's funny when you say the bubble wrap thing because, you know, the other day I was watching something and I remembered that we were sort of my feeling was that if you didn't baby-proof something, then they wouldn't get injured, you know? When you baby-proof stuff, they figure out a way to get hurt. But if you have the sharp corner sticking out on the table, don't put the little rubber thing on it, but they'll avoid it. It's just, So is that in your book? Will that be in your book? Can we put it in your book?
I would say we're not looking to put them in danger, but we are looking for them to learn to navigate the world, because once we're gone, they're expected to have the tools necessary to survive. I remember when my mother locked me out of the house. She literally locked me out of the house, and that was strange. That was weird, but she was right. Go figure it out. Stop coming into my house and taking my paper towels and food.
I read that story. How old were you when this happened?
Low teens.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you turn the doorknob, you hit the door with your arm, it opens. Turn the doorknob, you do it 1,000 times. Hey, Ma! Go in the kitchen, raid the refrigerator, grab stuff, right? She had enough. No, you're not coming in and taking my... Go figure it out. Go get a job.
Now, I get it. But this happened for how long? A week or so, right?
At least, on and off quite a bit. This went on for a while.
And you didn't have in Ithaca the Anthony, what was it, Scaramucci?
Oh, Anthony Catapano.
Yeah.
No, but I had friends. I mean, I found myself sleeping at friends' houses all the time. But the message, you know, I didn't understand it at first, but it was a good... You got to figure it out because, look, she wasn't around forever. She died, right? Dad died. And so parents owe it to the kids. It's hard to do. Our instinct is to bubble wrap them and hold their hand and snuggle them, right? But you're not doing them any favors. I was with a guy this weekend. Tough guy. I know up in Vermont we were at a wrestling tournament. Tough guy. And he was like... We had 3 brothers. He goes, my mother was tougher than my father. She might as well have been a Marine. Yeah. And he goes, I'm 8 years old, and she's got me locked in the basement with the wood stove on to lose weight for wrestling. If I fought with her, she punched me in the face and broke my nose. He goes, now, today, he goes, if somebody heard that, they'd say, oh, he goes, no, she just made me tougher. She made me tougher.
Yeah, I think and this is something I can talk about all day long about, I think society today has really made most people pretty weak.
It's ridiculous. We're learning helplessness.
Yeah.
We're learning helplessness.
And
Vermont's talking about, by the way, Vermont is talking about legislation to take phones away from kids till they're 21.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big story.
Yeah, good luck with that. That would be amazing.
That'd be amazing.
From experience, I can tell you that they're, right now it's like a third appendage, right? It's part of the deal.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, all of us kind of get a little bit kind of glued to it.
No doubt.
I'm not glued, but, sort of addicted. Well, listen, I want to jump into a little quick segment called Hit Your Mark.
Let's do it.
Piece of cake. And then groovy.
Let's do it.
All right, first question, easy one. Ready?
Yep.
You were the pool guy for a while.
Yep. No, the answer is no.
I was going to say, wait, now I got to change my question. Damn you. But actually, the question was or is, how easy or hard is it to do?
To clean a pool?
Yeah.
It's harder than you think. It sounds silly, right? Because you got night, but in most cases, somebody hiring you to clean their pool means their pool is dirty.
Right.
And taking those winter covers off in the Northeast with frogs and tadpoles and algae, and they're green and disgusting, and weigh 500 literally 500 pounds of water on them to get them off the covered pool. Hopefully it's clear underneath. If it's not clear, You got to go back to the truck, grab 3 or 4 pumps and filters, set them up to try to clean that. I mean, you got to know electricity. You got to be an electrician, a plumber, a chemist, and a construction worker.
And I think people seem to think, because look, we all watch the movie as a show, like this svelte-looking pool guy, getting on with the lonely woman at home kind of thing and stuff. And I won't ask those questions, maybe. But it's, as you said, it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, it's a profession, and it's one you got to be good at. If you're good at it, you stand out.
Yeah.
And like with anything else, right? So the next question again, tell me a little bit about what you think is your perfect day.
Perfect day for me, 4 a.m. wake up, full workout, kids workout, ice cold shower, kids go to school, I head off to work, get home, vegan eggplant parm at the table with everybody, a second workout with everybody, a hot shower, and bedtime. Perfect.
Damn it! You didn't mention the couch beer or the clicker. What the hell? That's fabulous. What's a crappy day?
Crappy day would be miss the workout and not have any of the stuff I just described.
Are you vegan now?
Ish. Ish. 80% ish.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So it's a choice, not a requirement or whatever. I don't know the terminology. I don't want to
botch it.
Yeah. I probably will. Well, listen, I really appreciate your time. It was a blast having you on. You're a great conversationalist,
you're
which
awesome.
I appreciate.
We had fun.
We did. And all the best to any future potential acquisitions as they may happen.
Yeah, we'll see.
DECA, count me in if you get one here in the city. I'm
you're in. Trail, you're in. Spartan, you're in.
Spartan, I'm in.
I don't know when this thing is going to air. When it does, give your viewers, listeners 1 week to let you know that they're in and they want something. I'll send you a bunch of entries.
Yeah, send me that, because it'll probably be 2 weeks from now, give or take. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'll be great. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
You're awesome.
All the best. Ooh. Thanks so much for joining us today on this episode of Make Your Mark Podcast. The goal of the podcast is to help you find ways to make your mark, to succeed in life, and to jump past your competition. Be sure to leave me a review on iTunes and Stitcher, and subscribe to be the first to hear new episodes. If you're looking for ways to make your mark, send me an email, mark@markmoyer.com, and I'll get back to you right away. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.